part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright. You're listening to the Krypton Report.
Hey everybody, I just want to post this so everyone can remember that in January, the Multiverse fundraiser page that I've been a part of will be doing our yearly fundraiser. This time it is for aortic heart through the Ritter Foundation. And I want you to go over to their page, check out the notes, and check it out. I will be hosting an interview with the one and only Black Lightning himself, Cress Williams. That's right. Check that out in January. Head on to the page, keep looking on the social, and you'll see more information coming. Any money that is donated goes for a good cause. Check out the Ritter Foundation. Welcome to this special Krypton Report. I am your host, Tyler, and with me is my bat brother, Mr. Bryan Peters. Welcome, Bryan.
Oh, hey, everybody. How's it going?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. We're going to talk about a couple of things here. We're going to talk about some ideas that Bryan and I have kind of had. Just
a lot's been in our head, mainly since James Gunn and DC decided not to continue with Henry.
And the other thing we're going to talk about is, like we talked about before a couple of months ago, when Bryan and I talked about the Superman serials, we're going to jump back and first things first, we're going to talk about just kind of a summary thought of after Bryan went through watching Superman or Atom Man vs. Superman,
Yeesh.
the serial. So Bryan, first let's talk about that. How was watching that serial?
Okay. I still can't comprehend in my head where the heck Spider Lady comes from. Like, how did she become the Queen of the Underworld? Who is she really? Like, that stuff didn't make sense. So when you go to Atom Man, and like, it's almost okay. So Atom Man is this thing or person with this giant freaking head, and I don't know if it's trying to be like. There's a Marvel character called like the Human Totem.
It's a
Okay, so I know what it is. I know what it reminds me of. The head reminds me of Pee-wee's Playhouse. I remember there being some character that would like show up at his door that has this giant head, like pops. Anyway, it was weird. So
yeah, I can see that.
Of course, it's revealed that Atom Man is actually Luthor in disguise, trying to somewhat be a legit businessman and kind of have this alter ego. And when Luthor was first introduced, you know, he was this guy that just wanted to take over the world. Like, he wanted to start war. And he would talk to his agents through, like, screens on trees and screens on rocks and just whatever. So, okay, that kind of worked. It worked. And Luthor was fine. It was okay. Like, for Luthor being the Atom Man, that's fine. Like I want to see real Superman. I want to see Superman versus Luthor. So, but it still was more of the same. Like, it didn't.
I remember I think it was the first serial episode. Jimmy shows up and he doesn't have his hat on. And I'm like, yeah, cool. And then like he puts it on the next scene. I'm like, dang. I'm like, all right, James.
Oh, the hats.
Okay, so the big changes in this one, once again, we have Kirk Alyn reprising his role as Superman.
Who looks like a boy playing dress up.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Kirk, you know. I still have respect for you. We're
and,
sorry.
You know, in some ways, he's the first, you know, he's kind of paving the way for the character.
Yeah.
And this second serial, I want to say I liked it better.
It is better.
I still think the serials are too long, but they were never created to watch them the way that we're watching them. Back to back, binge.
No.
Like,
oh my gosh.
I always recommend now to people, if you're going to watch the serials, decide to make it like a year plan and just watch one a week. Or, you know, I think even one a day, maybe, if you want to just get through one of them. But don't watch more than 2 episodes in a day.
It gets exhausting because it's so repetitive. It's just, oh, Lois went into a room. Oh, the room's catching fire. Oh, Superman's going to save her. Boom, she's saved. oh, hey, Jimmy's in trouble now. Oh, let's go save him. Like it's just. Yeah.
I will say the Atom Man arc is neat because this is our first showdown of Luthor versus Superman.
First time.
This is our first Luthor.
First Luthor. Live action Luthor.
Yeah.
Well, first Luthor period, no, because you didn't have an animated Luthor either.
And I think he did a great job for thinking that, like, the mad scientist Luthor. What's crazy and what kind of blew my mind when Janine and I were watching a couple of these together was the fact that I always thought of, like, the businessman Luthor being more of an 80s invention by Byrne. But they plant that seed here. He is a business front person who's a mad scientist Luthor. And
when Byrne created Luthor, he did take tidbits from that.
And
Absolutely.
I'm just like,
well, when he made the new Luthor. Yes.
I you know what? For the first kind of go at Luthor in live action or Luthor period, he did a great job. I mean, it's recognizable as a character. It's not one of those you're like, I can kind of see it, like squint and see it. No, you could flat out say that's the character. The saddest part is, as you know, we're both in different stages right now of watching The Adventures of Superman, is that George never got a Luthor to go against.
Well, I didn't know that, but...
And it's such a bummer. He's the only Superman that never got...
George never got anybody. He just gets gangsters. That's all he gets.
But, you know, Luthor is always, you know, Superman's nemesis and all that. And he is the only Superman that has not gotten a Luthor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, because what's his face? The guy that plays Superman now,
Tyler,
the Teen Wolf dude,
Tyler.
Oh yeah, you're Tyler. Yeah, he hasn't had a true Luthor.
Well, Luthor's being cast and coming in season 3. So he will
okay.
have a Luthor. But
you know why it's not John Cryer really breaks my heart.
You know that it does break my heart because I thought John Cryer did a great job, and the way
he was amazing,
and the way they soft rebooted him, the way they soft rebooted Lucy and kept the same Lucy for season 2 of Superman Lois. Mm-hmm. They could have easily brought John Cryer back and let him readjust the character. You know, and played him a little bit more serious. And I think the worst thing about his Lex was they used him too much. The last season of Supergirl is poo poo. Like, it's not that great.
Poo poo, is that a technical term?
Yeah, wacko. It's a technical term. Yeah,
they poo poo.
It wasn't good. I like some of the ideas.
I couldn't watch it. I couldn't finish it. I could not finish it. Maybe because I hate Brainy. And
when they made him green, finally, was pretty cool. But all this to say, let's get back to the serial. The second serial was better. I thought not Phyllis Coates. Noelle Neal did a better job and was more fun in the second serial than she was in the first one.
Well, in the first one, I did like that. I did like that scene where she said, "Hey, Clark, take my car."
Oh my god,
that's vintage Lois Lane. That is one of the greatest Lois moments I've seen.
And then reports her car stolen, and Clark gets arrested.
Love it. But also in the second serial, we see the Phantom Zone.
We do see the Phantom Zone, which is neat because the first serial, if you want to kind of break it down, is more Golden Age, and the second one is like a precursor to Silver Age.
I'll take that because we're going to have a gold and silver talk in a second.
So
I'll take it.
There's not a whole lot to dissect because it's been a little bit since Bryan watched the serial, but we've been trying to get together to talk about it, and of course I've been releasing my thoughts here.
I'm a horrible addition to this podcast.
No, you're a delight. It's just life, man. And Bryan, if you don't recall here, people, Bryan got a new job that has really been great for his.
I do actually have a life now,
and I'm so ecstatic. So it's been better. We've been trying to do more stuff, and we're getting there.
That is the title of our podcast name. We'll get there.
Yeah, our In the Car podcast, which we haven't got to do because we haven't got to do anything, but
we'll
that's
get
changing too. So
that is a great name for it.
Let's talk a little bit now. We'll segue into our discussion on James Gunn.
You want to go right in there?
Well,
you don't want to talk about Klan first?
No, we're going to.
Because some of my ideas coming from Klan.
That's fine. We're also going to talk about Superman Smashes the Klan, and we're going to review that and talk about that book series here. But I was thinking, as of this recording, we're going to state that
is July
11th.
January.
God, July. Jesus.
Time travel.
we traveled in time.
I'm a variant.
He's a remnant. January 11th. There has not been
2013.
Any announcement from Gunn
2023
about his plans for Superman, other than that they wanted to not have Henry Cavill and go with a younger Superman.
But he said it was going to be coming soon. He said it was going to be by the end of January.
Yep,
we're going to get some.
We're approaching the.
So this is part 1. Okay.
So we will definitely, whenever anything's announced, we'll get Brian's comments back. So, just overall, Brian, your thoughts. Like you and I have been messaging back and forth about ideas for a Superman, what we would think. So just kind of go with what your thoughts.
Okay, right off the bat, I have to say this to our wonderful listeners. Well, your listeners. Well, they're here for me, but I know you're here for me. Okay, so right off the bat, I have to say that I don't like when things aren't wrapped up. I can't freaking stand it. So if you're gonna do this whole company-wide reboot and you're not gonna keep Henry, and second of all, whatever. I ramble, people. Okay, you can't pick and choose. Okay, if you're gonna do a company-wide reboot, you do a freaking reboot. So you can't just pick the stuff that you wrote and did, like Peacemaker. At the end of freaking Peacemaker, if you haven't seen the show, you're really missing out. At the end of Peacemaker, spoiler alert, we see the Justice League.
Yeah.
And we see someone floating as Superman. Yeah, it's not Henry.
It's the Henry shadow, because we have actual Ezra and Momoa.
You see Ezra, you see Momoa, and you get like a little shot of Wonder Woman. Or a shadow, whatever. So if you're going to have them and acknowledgement of the Justice League, but then you're going to take it away, bullshit. Sorry. All right. Step 2. If you're going to, like, what Suicide Squad matters? So I assume it's going to be James Gunn's Suicide Squad. But in James Gunn's Suicide Squad, they do reference a little bit of Ayer's Suicide Squad.
Well, like I always said, I always subscribed to, for the longest time, everything up to Zack Snyder's Justice League was pre-Crisis. And then because Ezra Miller was on the Crisis event, I kind of think Justice League Forward is post-Crisis. That's why things kind of line up, but are kind of don't perfectly line up. Is because it's more post-Crisis. Okay.
However you have to put it in your head.
That's but like you, where you like things wrapping up, I like things being in a continuity and making sense.
I'm right there with you.
So, however, I have to headcanon things with context clues that are given to me, and it's like I said,
so that our comic knowledge brain just can make sense of it.
And since Ezra Miller showed up then disappeared, meaning that his world was destroyed in Crisis, and then they did the whole new multiverse.
That's fair.
That's why I say that starting with the Justice League, and then Birds of Prey, Shazam, all those, and then the Suicide Squad, they're all part of the post-Crisis events.
Okay. So, but what pisses me off even more so is that they're still coming out with the Flashpoint movie, really. But we're also going to get Aquaman. But in Aquaman, is it going to have Ben Affleck's Batman?
And see,
so why isn't Aquaman moved in front of Flash, and then Flash, you do your full reboot? And then why in the freaking Flash movie are you taking out these scenes, if you're really taking them out? It could just be, Fina's BS, of Henry and Gal. Like, Flashpoint, so in my mind, what has been stuck in my mind is that you're keeping Flash because that's your ace in the hole to reboot.
Mm-hmm.
That's your ace in the hole to fix everything.
Yeah.
Okay. whatever. So rebooted everything. Do your thing. But
I didn't get that.
But why? But like, I don't know. You like. I am so intrigued. If there's any movie in the past 10, 20 years, maybe even 20 years, that I've been. Shut up, Siri.
Both series like ours.
That I am so intrigued by. Like, I have to see immediately. It's The Flash.
Yeah.
I have to. Like, and I do not condone anything that Ezra Miller has done. I'm really pissed off about it that they kept him.
My note is, if he truly is having mental health issues and he's seeking help and he's getting help, that's great. Like, I'm happy for him that way. But if he comes out, and apologizes, but, supposedly he's been in treatment and he's working on it, awesome. We all have problems. We're extensive, but you never know the extent of someone's mental condition. So that's my thing.
That's fair.
Is if you have...
You're next to deny him.
The thing is, if you have a problem, you identify it, and you work on it, and you're genuinely, like, sorry, or like, hey, I apologize for what I've done, I'm working on myself, I can forgive some things. But
I don't think, but when Ezra was cast as Barry, well, I don't think I knew you then, but when Ezra was cast as Barry, I immediately said in my head, huh? I don't see Barry in this kid.
Ezra was announced as Barry the Flash the day after the Flash TV series premiered on CW.
Oh gosh, yes.
The next morning was all the rave reviews about the show, and the next day they dropped, like, who was cast in Justice League as the Flash.
The Flash movie that was supposed to come out in 2018, if I remember.
But moving back, yeah. What I've kind of made my peace to with everything is, I follow James Gunn on Twitter.
Yep.
I have it in his announcements.
If James does not tweet it, it is not fact.
This is true. Exactly.
Repeat, if James does not tweet it, it is not fact.
So I'm not going down any of these big rabbit holes. Because this is the one thing that DC marketing, or, now it's an actual studio, and understanding that it was just a section of a studio, now it's its own studio, is a big mindset to get around.
Yeah.
But they've never had somebody who's been in the forefront actually stopping rumors. And that's what James has done. He's, like, this is not true. I have not said anything. Me and Peter Safran, his production partner, we haven't decided yet. So all these people that are saying stuff are just clickbait articles. So where I stand is, if he's not actually saying it, I'm not worried about it. Like, I'm not going down any rabbit hole discussions.
Yeah.
Because we've spent so much time speculating.
But Flash didn't give us an answer. That's why I'm very hopefully.
I'm looking forward to it, because I think,
and I'm a big Flash fan.
I'm a Flash fan. My daughter really loves the Flash character. And I think Ezra's a good actor. I think he did.
He's no great Gustin.
Yeah, Ezra, pronouns, whatever. Ezra.
Yeah, we apologize. We didn't use his their proper pronouns. Apologize.
I get tongue-tied and forget things. With Ezra did a great job in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And that showed that he could play the character. And like we've talked about before, is every live-action Flash we get is somewhat of an amalgam of different versions of the Flash in the comics. It's always a mixture of Wally and Barry. Every live-action version is always kind of a Wally-Barry mix.
With Wally being the better part.
So, I'm excited for the movie. I am kind of separating the actor from the art, because the movie is more than just one person. It's a character that lives on, but there's also elements in it that I'm interested in what they're going to do with the Supergirl character. Yep. I'm interested to see what they do with Michael Keaton in his role. And I'm just interested in, the characters, period. And going back to what you said about the whole reboot thing.
Which we're going to get to what we were thinking for what we would do.
The only thing that we know for sure is that Henry is out. That's all we know, is they want to do a younger Superman, and that's it. Okay, so that's interesting. But then, like you said, it makes it very difficult, because then you have
Very
so many little pieces where Henry connects here, Henry connects here. Do you just clean slate it?
I think you have to.
And the hardest part of that for me is, okay, the big characters get rebooted, but some of the smaller characters, like I was watching Black Adam, and I'm like, you know what? I really like Aldous Hodge as Hawkman. I think he could really carry getting to lead Hawkman and do more with him. But will we see that again? You know, do we just lose that because we're going to clean slate it?
Well, as a humongous JSA fan, love the JSA. Like, I think Black Adam didn't do him very much justice, because there's so many unanswered questions. It was just kind of like, boom, here's the JSA.
And it's like,
how long have they been around? How they get all that money? Like,
was that by design or not? You know what I'm saying? Because in one way, it's kind of the less is more. It's just enough to really hook you in. Like, okay, now give me the JSA movie.
Yeah, did they get their money from Charles Xavier? Like, they borrowed the mansion, whatever.
But then at the same time, I'm like, could we have focused a little bit more on Black Adam and his world building and his lore than the JSA? So it's kind of like back and forth.
Well, I mean, one thing I did like, I mean, because we watched the movie before all this other stuff happened. One thing I like is they gave that tease of their relationship with Atom Smasher and Black Adam.
Yes,
which is a huge story.
Yes,
but I kind of would want Atom Smasher to be introduced, just me personally, with Stargirl, because Stargirl is your freaking heart and soul of the JSA and modern times, and she's kind of like the conscience of the JSA, like Atom Smasher, like I don't want to spoil it in case they do it later.
They should have seen it,
but if you read Black Rain, the JSA story with Jeff Johns, and you read 52 after Infinite Crisis, awesome Black Adam story with Atom Smasher. But anywho, I don't know. So going into what I want, and I've been thinking a lot about this, and mainly I've got even more ideas from reading Smashes the Klan and watching Adventures of Superman. I say you start this new Superman. In your golden age. I say your first movie. Is Superman in Golden Age. And
I think you are in the mindset of what I've come up with, but keep going.
But your whole first movie, you can even have Intergang be your villain, but it's an Intergang that doesn't have technology yet. It's like an early Intergang that's kind of like gangsterish. You can have just. So what I liked about Smashes the Klan, okay, is that, and we'll get more into it, more so Tyler probably, but in Smashes the Klan, Superman it's a Golden Age Superman. He's kind of like he's like a Fleischer Superman, but not completely.
It's a nice.
I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, it's a nice pre-Silver Age style Superman. It's like a segue into.
So key things about Golden Age Superman when he first started. Okay, if you go back and read Jerry and Joe's work, is that he was just a Superman. So people, we can lift things. He has super strength. He has super speed. He can hear better. He can leap He can leap, higher. He didn't have anything that could be deemed, supernatural.
Yeah.
He didn't have heat vision. He couldn't fly. He didn't have freeze breath. He didn't have telescopic vision. He didn't have X-ray vision too much yet. Like X-ray vision was kind of just starting to be maybe his.
It was more like magnifying vision, like you could see far away.
Yeah, or telescopic vision, whatever. But
yeah,
but he had a little bit of X-ray still in Golden Age, but there wasn't this like this, well, he might be more than a man type thing. So first movie, I say you don't have him fly. You do the classic black and red with the gold trim Superman shield. You have him look kind of like he did in Super Pets, to put in perspective.
See, I would keep going. I'll add my thoughts in a second. Keep going.
But or you can even do Grant Morrison's t-shirt and jeans, which is a vision I loved.
See, I'm with you. My thought is the first film is very Golden Age inspired.
Yeah.
You pull from, like you said, from Superman Smashes the Klan, the original Golden Age action comics, and then the Grant Morrison action comics, where he's a little bit more depowered. He's taking on gangs. He's taking on more of the average
he's
criminal.
Like one thing. See, Adventures of Superman works with that Golden Age mindset. Like even though that show was done as the Silver Age was kind of pulling in, like it works. When you give Superman too many powers, gangster stories can't work.
Yeah,
it's just, well, of course he's gonna freaking destroy him. They have nothing on him. So do your first movie with like a gangster intergang. You can do. I would like maybe a hint of Lex, but I don't want to see Lex. I wouldn't mind if Lex was kind of like your Palpatine through the shadows thing.
Yeah.
Because you gotta have Lex, but I don't want Lex to be brought in yet. I don't want Zod in yet. I want a nice, tight, somewhat grounded Superman story. I want you to see him grow as a kid. I want to see Smallville in a movie almost. Yeah. I want to, and then as he grows, what I like about a story aspect in Smashes the Klan is that he hasn't embraced all his power because he wants to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
So in Smashes the Klan, Superman is seeing these visions of green aliens, which got me a little scared that they were going to make Kryptonians be green aliens, which I would have hated. But that's just me. But
I agree with you.
Superman through the story has to embrace what he is, and that he is from another planet, that he's holding back his powers, that he's not being all that he can be. Join the army. No. And I love that story. I love that aspect. I loved him running on these telephone lines. I thought that was totally dope. But when he finds out his Kryptonian knowledge and he embraces it, I think that we should have that scene at the end where he creates the Forges of Solitude, where maybe that's the final scene. We create that. But I was kind of thinking more the final scene to be that we see him in a new suit with the classic red and yellow shield, more that Silver Age classic look we know. He has a real suit. Maybe he gets the battle armor from Jor-El, and then that's the suit type thing. But the embracing of moving into the Silver Age and Heat Vision and Freeze Breath and Brainiac and all that stuff in the second movie.
You have a very similar thought process that I do. Because I was thinking first film, very grounded, very Golden Age, small, insulary.
Small, sometimes
I always think of The Wolverine. The Wolverine was a very personal, small scale story.
Yes.
The stakes were personal and emotional, but low. He wasn't saving the world. And I think that would be awesome for a first Superman film. Similar to how things were a little bit smaller in the Superman Man of Tomorrow animated film. I think a great final shot would be him in a new costume, and then he takes first flight. And that's it. And that's the idea of, okay, I'm now off the ground.
Would you have that first flight end with him orbiting Earth, like a classic, like...
It would be similar to him taking off into the sky, and maybe a shot of him looping the Earth, similar to like in Man of Steel. But the idea would be he's now no longer constrained by gravity. Because so many times in Superman, the flight is like his last power. That's the big power that really makes him stand out more.
Yeah.
So, and with that idea of him taking flight, that signals the end of an era. And then the second film would be more Silver Age inspired, more sci-fi. I think about the Blade trilogy. Each film is significantly different in its scope, its direction, and everything, but they still work as a trilogy. So I'm looking like each one of these Superman films, you kind of slightly redo it, or for a better Superman 1, that's what we'll call it for right now. It's like Alien, smaller, insular. Superman 2 is more sci-fi action. It's Aliens.
I was thinking the same thing in my head, yeah.
Because I would love to do the first Superman film. There is no Krypton. Like, you don't get the rocket ship. You don't get any of the staples of Krypton.
So in Golden Age, you didn't get any word of Krypton until like Superman, I think 30 something.
You just get those quick panels at the beginning of like
the
Kryptonian sign. See, I would open my Superman 2 with the explosion of Krypton. That's how I would open my second one. It would be like you would go back, you would tell, like, you'd spend the first 15, 20 minutes of the film doing the doom of Krypton. I would probably use Brainiac as part of the destruction of Krypton. That way I could later introduce him into the story. And then after that 20 minutes, I would jump to Superman flying in Metropolis.
Okay. What if you end that first movie, with him flying in the air, which I'm down, with the new suit, I'm down with that. Post-credit scene, the fortress is being created.
I would do the fortress being created in the second one because he hasn't tapped into alien tech yet. The whole first film would be him with no alien tech. The second movie,
but I like the idea. I like the idea that he gets that knowledge from the fortress, the Kryptonian knowledge.
He will get the knowledge because my second movie, part of the plot would be him finding his spaceship. His spaceship has the crystals. And then creating the fortress. And like I said, it would be all very sci-fi. It would be into that mold of building the fortress, learning about his history, learning about Krypton. And then...
So who would your first villain be?
I haven't quite decided. Because I've gone back and forth with... I always thought Metallo would be, like, if we're borrowing from Jeff Johns' Secret Origins, I like that the last villain he fought was Metallo. I think that could work. You have kryptonite, but it's this... You don't know what it is. It's just a mineral substance. Because I want to stay away from the big battle of alien invasion, and you save that for either your second or your third film. Once the world has built trust in Superman. And it also can introduce another level that we really haven't seen of these people from Krypton coming to Earth. And kind of like how J. Michael Straczynski's Earth 1 Volume 3, where Zod shows up, and at first Superman's trying to friend Zod because he doesn't know that Zod's actually evil. More in that direction. And you build up to that like in your third film. I don't know. Like, this is just kind of speculating quickly. It's like, second film would be Brainiac, this alien outsider. I think Brainiac can be the scariest villain.
So wait, you're going to put Brainiac in your second film?
Mm-hmm.
So Golden Age, and then you have Brainiac be your second film?
Because my second film would be very Silver Age inspired.
Yeah, I would do Brainiac in the second film.
Mm-hmm. And then my third film would be very Bronze to Modern Time inspired.
In the third film, I would maybe do Metallo and Parasite.
See, Metallo and Parasite to me are great first villains if you need spectacle villains, because they are smaller. Their scale is smaller. They can be more personal.
I'm thinking in my head that we have this Superman with all the power, and he might be getting a little arrogant of himself. Because so if you do Brainiac in the second film, Brainiac's a huge villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so underutilized and unappreciated. So if you do Brainiac in the second film, like then you kind of can't do Metallo. So in my second film, I thought about Brainiac, but I think I would do Parasite and Metallo.
One thing that I loved about Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy is the fact that Scarecrow is in all three films. It didn't fall into the one villain lives, one dies, we never see him again. So I would have a version of Metallo and Parasite in my first film, and then in my third film, an upgraded Metallo would appear. In Parasite, like we would see them locked in the prison or whatever, and then they would come back in the third film as upgraded, because you could say the government, this is just quick speculating, are using them almost like a Suicide Squad type thing, because they have another Kryptonian that's here and they don't know what to do, so they're putting their defenses out. And that's like Metallo, Kryptonite, they're putting him out there. They've upgraded him with other alien tech, like Brainiac tech, that maybe they salvaged from the second movie. But this is easy, people. Bryan and I got this.
Well, what if you have your third movie be revealed that Lex was the one that was funding Intergang in the beginning, and he gave Intergang technology in the second movie because Superman got more powered, so he made this deal with. Okay, hold on. First movie, Intergang, but depowered, or they don't have any apocalyptic technology, but we introduce Intergang. We do introduce Lex, but Lex is kind of like your Palpatine.
To me, Lex is the villain who's always there that you can never pin down. He's all, like you said, he's your Palpatine. He's in the background. You just can't pinpoint him. He's slick. Yes. And I would do a political angle on Lex, because we haven't done that in a film yet.
No. So follow me. Be with me. So the first so I'm thinking possibly 6 movies here. Okay. So no, I haven't thought this all over, so just bear with me. So first movie, Golden Age. Hint of Lex. Like Lex is there. The Clark is not there. There's no Daily Planet yet. This is just Clark. Well, maybe we'll do Daily Star.
I like the idea of him in the Daily Planet as like an intern or very like copy boy. Like
I say Daily Star.
I say he is
no Lois and Jimmy yet in the first movie.
See, I feel like if you wait too long, you have to give them something, because they have to latch on to something they know. Like the audience, because you are making a general audience type film. I would do Clark in the Jimmy Olsen role. Like basically my first movie, Clark is like Jimmy. I wouldn't do Jimmy yet. Jimmy would come later, because
but Lois can't take Clark seriously. Lois sees Superman and she's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You have to build that.
Classic Golden Age tropes. Okay. But do so Lex in the background, little intergang thing, gangster type stuff, what have you. Okay. Second movie, we do our Silver Age. I would like to. Well, I want Metallo and Parasite working for Intergang in that first movie, but they don't have powers. They're just lower guys. You know what? Let me do this. Your first kind of main villain that they're dealing with, you deal with a little Intergang and Lex mixed in there. First villain, Toyman.
You could make it work. My biggest thought is, you come to a movie for spectacle, and if you're doing too much depowered, too much of like a building, are you hooking people? Not that it can't be done, because we look at.
Give me time to really think on this.
I know this is all just off the top of our head.
Yeah,
like this is just us speculating. Because I don't think you're wrong. I don't think I'm right completely either. I'm just saying. That's why I say like you do smaller scale, like spectacle, so that you are building to Superman. I think Toyman's a really cool idea. because we haven't done Toyman in live action for a film. I think about the first Iron Man, how small that was.
Mm-hmm.
And you got action, you built the characters. You did the work. And I think you need Perry. I think if you did a George Taylor for the Daily Star, it would be kind of cool.
What'd you say?
If you did like George Taylor in the Daily Star, it'd be kind of cool. You could do something where the Daily Star is going out of business, and that in the events of the film, they go bankrupt and they close, and then Clark, who was building himself as a reporter for the Daily Star, is now the copy boy, errand boy, cub reporter for the Daily Planet.
Lois works for the Planet. Kent works for the Star. And there's that rivalry there, and then near the end of the movie, like maybe, he gets a job with the Planet, and then Lois is like, oh, you have to work with you? Or Planet buys the Star or something.
He has to work from the bottom up. Because I like the idea of Clark being in the Jimmy Olsen role when he gets there, and he has to build himself up and earn his spot as a top reporter for the Planet. Even though he was a big-ish name at the Star, this is the Daily Planet. You have to earn your stripes. You can't just come in and start from the top. But I think we have a lot of cool ideas and a lot to mine. Like, if you're going to go with a reboot, let's build out the world. I think I don't want to see, big alien slug fight. I want to see a Superman who's character driven. And I think that we have the chance to really build something so that when we do get to the alien invasion, people are more on Superman's side. And it also makes Superman, I don't know, it's just, it has more impact.
Well, I mean, so when he gets all these powers, I wanted to put in the story of the introduction and vulnerability. So that's why I like the idea of Parasite, and I like the idea of Metallo and Kryptonite being introduced. Where like, okay, I got these, I'm fully realized I got these powers, but I want that vulnerability to come in.
That's why I said I'd put them in the first film, because they're both low-key villains. And you have this person, like, he's testing himself because he doesn't know what his power limits are. That's the whole point of the first is, I know I have strength. I know I can be shot, but how much? Like, going back and, like I said, pulling things from that New 52 Grant Morrison action run, a lot of that's where he's at. Like, what can I do? How much can I take? There's a great part in that where the government has him and Lex is there working for the government, and they have him, they're electrocuting him, trying to see how much he can take. So I think this mindset of what all can I do? I am involved. I've never been hurt. Like, I've never been hurt. And then you throw in somebody like Metallo or Parasite. It doesn't have to be both of them. It could be one of them. Where all of a sudden he can be hurt. He's experiencing pain for the first time. He's experiencing a mental breakdown because now he doesn't know what to do, and he still doesn't know he's an
like
alien.
In the greatest Superman movie that ever was, Superman 2.
Superman 4?
No, fuck you. Superman 2, the bar scene, he gets punched. He's like, I'm bleeding. He's freaking out, man.
The bar scene. And then he goes back like a D-bag and beats up a bunch of guys that have no idea what's going on because he reversed time.
He was working out.
Yeah.
He paid for the damages.
Yeah, but he beat up 2 dudes that didn't do anything.
No, he only beat up that dickhead.
Yeah, but technically, he'd already reversed time, so that guy never did that to him.
No, he didn't reverse time in Superman 2.
Depends on the cut you watch.
No, he didn't.
In the Richard Donner cut, he did.
Again?
Because he was supposed to. Because in the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2,
He reverses
time.
Time in Superman 2 or in Donner
because he was never supposed to revert time in the first film. That's why the Richard Donner cut starts in the middle of the first film, because the first part of the Richard Donner Superman 2 is where the first film would have ended. Because the original first film was supposed to end with the explosion of the nuclear bomb freeing the Kryptonians. That's where it was supposed to end. And then the reverse time was supposed to be at the end of the second one. But because they were in the editing, they put the reverse time at the end of the first one.
Well, you know everything.
I do.
Now you make me question like all my movie watching in my life.
It's one of those things you're like, oh yeah.
I don't remember him reversing time at all in Donner Cut.
Yeah.
But then again, I have seen the other one way more than Donner.
It's just imprinted in your brain. Like for the longest time.
Like him throwing his shield and trapping people in plastic.
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest Superman powers of our
But
time. And telekinesis. Don't forget telekinesis.
Looking at the Burlick, I agree, because I think that there's something that can be really unique in the idea that he is depowered for the first time. You definitely have to have the Kents alive. I don't like the Kents being dead.
You like what?
I don't like the Kents being dead. They have to be alive.
Yeah. I never.
Both of them.
I don't like the Kents being dead either.
And I would say this, just for changing of the script, if I was going to do something, I would make the Kents integral to my story. I think I would kill Martha first and tell a story about Jonathan and Clark, like in my third film. Because you've had Jonathan die and then Clark have a story with Martha, but you've never had Martha die and Jonathan and Clark, how they move forward with life. How does Jonathan adapt not having his wife? I think that's a really interesting.
Okay.
Something else I would add to it is, I always thought it'd be neat to have a young Clark, and like you have this like panning shot of his room, and he has tons of book on mythology, and like he's very well versed in like all the old myths and everything, because he's trying to figure out like if they're real or not. Because he's like, I'm strong.
Okay.
Hercules was strong, and all this type.
So, have you read much Superman past Infinite Crisis?
I mean, technically, yes.
It's really good stuff. So one is it's kind of like a couple-parter story. I don't know. After Infinite Crisis, Superman is kind of a mess. Like things don't match up chronologically for a little bit. I mean, you get the amazing story up and away, but then it's kind of like a little weird until Jeff Johns takes over a little bit. Anyway, but they do this story where this woman who's in church, she like prays to God that an angel or somebody will come and clean up the city and stuff. So she makes a prayer, and then Superman shows up because people are shooting each other, and then she's like, "Oh, this is God sending an angel, and Superman's an angel," and so she starts causing trouble because she believes that she has the power, like God's given her the power to summon Superman or summon angels to solve crimes.
Wow, that was a huge leap she took. Not God just answered my prayer. She jumped to, I control God's will.
Well, I mean, it's a gradual.
Yeah.
It's a gradual in the story. But Superman's like terrified because he knows what's going to happen. He knows that she's going to think that he's always going to show up no matter what for any situation. So she starts like busting down doors of drug houses in her neighborhood, and like, Superman's coming for you. The angel's coming for you. Whatever. So she ends up getting shot. And when she gets shot, Superman's not there to save her. He arrives too late, takes her to the hospital, and she ends up like all this money comes into the community to revitalize it because she got shot and like help the community. Then it leads into another story of this guy called called Redemption.
Okay.
Have you heard the story yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So it's kind of like the second part of the story. So there's this like missionaries that get killed that are from this church. So Superman goes and investigates, and basically, long story short, this pastor has the ability to like send his power, like his metahuman power, into a being, and he puts it into this kid from the church and gives him a suit and calls him redemption, and the congregation is led to believe that their prayers are actually giving power to redemption, this kid, and that the more they pray, the more power this kid gets. And by the power of belief, this kid will be stronger and be able to be stronger than Superman. So Superman tries to like fights the kid to try to like get him to control his powers and like calm down, and the kid actually hurts Superman. And you know, Superman stops whatever. But the side story to this is Superman going in his memories about going to church with Martha. And eventually it's revealed through the story that he stopped going to church with Martha. And he sits down with his mom and is like, you know, Mom, did you ever hate me or get upset with me that I stopped going to church with you? And it's this whole question of Superman's faith. Like, can Superman believe in a deity? Can he believe in God? Because of all the things he can do, like, can he go to church? Can he, like, what does Superman believe in? What is it? Mythology stuff? Is it whatever? I mean, this is Superman. He's met the presence. You know, he's met, you know, the versions of God. Like, he's met so much. So, yeah,
that's really cool. I'm gonna read that.
Anyway,
that's probably what I'll read tomorrow if I have to end up covering another study hall.
We're going to press pause and hear a few words from our other podcasts on Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us and then listen in.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough super talk, check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, the Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/Krypton Report. You find all of our information. $1 a month. You'll get extra special content that you don't get on the main show, like movie commentaries and whatever else comes out of our mouths. So check it out, patreon.com/Krypton Report.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
So Superman Smashes the Klan. Other stuff happens in that book.
Yeah. So now we're gonna go to.
Sorry,
we're
guys.
gonna talk about Superman Smashes the Klan.
We'll get there.
So let me pull up my notes here. Now, Brian, when did you read Superman Smashes the Klan?
Just last week. I read it all.
All right. So
in between work.
Superman Smashes the Klan is a 3-part superhero limited series comic book written by Gene Yang with art by. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I don't want to butcher his name.
Gurihiro?
And published by DC Comics. It is a Superman story which is loosely based on the 16-part episode story about Clan of the Fiery Cross from the radio serials Adventures of Superman, which ran from June to July of 1946. The radio serial Superman exposed the Ku Klux Klan code words, rituals, and bigotry, all based on intel collected by activists Stetson Kennedy before a national audience. The show damaged the group's reputation and led to a steep decline in the membership from which the KKK never recovered. Which is awesome.
Nice.
Because I remember it was broadcast in February because one of the broadcasts, either the first one or the last one, coincided with my birthday. Well, I wasn't born yet, but it was on February 12th. So, plot synopsis is this. In 1946, the Lees, a Chinese-American family, moved from Chinatown to the metropolis suburbs in the wake of World War II. After the father, Dr. Lee, starts a new job at the Metropolis Health Department, the family faces overt and subtle racism as they settle into their new community. And the book focuses on the children, Tommy and Roberta. Cat. My daughter's cat's a pain in the butt. Roberta's true name is Lan Shin, but she uses the name Roberta for the ease of white people around her. While Tommy joins a local baseball team and uses self-deprecating remarks to make friends, referring to his own family as wontons to his white peers, Roberta struggles to fit in. The family is targeted by the local chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. The Klan burns a cross on their lawn and attempts to firebomb their house. Dr. Lee tries to distance his Chinese family from the black men who helped them in the aftermath of the Klan attack for fearing being grouped in with them. Tommy and Roberta then find themselves increasingly threatened while their new friend, Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, and Inspector Henderson try to help them and then are similarly targeted. Meanwhile, Superman's own efforts to assist the children are complicated by disturbing visions that prove to be linked to his own self-doubt and confusion about his own self-identity. Little note, just kind of interesting fact, the opening sequence of Superman Smashes the Klan, where Superman fights the Nazi Atom Man, which was loosely based and adapted into a scene in a flashback in Superman and Lois, the episode of brief reminiscence in between cataclysmic events. And then the sales of the trade edition of Superman Smashes the Klan made the top 20 direct market graphic novels. And Superman Smashes the Klan was awarded the Harvey Award for Best Children or Young Adult Book and the Eisner Award. So, when this came out, at first I didn't have it on my list to get. But then, the first one came out and I was like, I think by the time I got the first one, the second one had come out too, and I bought them. And I was hooked. I was very intrigued by it because sometimes these come out and you're just like, I don't know if it's going to be good or not.
I understand.
But I have them in the 3 individual, and for the longest time I couldn't find the 3rd volume. Everyone was sold out, and I debated just buying the collected trade. But then I think I was at Pack Rat and I found the 3rd one or something like that because I was at a different comic book store that I don't go to that often, and they had like one left or something.
Well, Pack Rat's pretty dope.
Yeah, it is. But I have the 3 individuals. So the first one, the cover art is very reminiscent of Action Comics number 1. What'd you say, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, he's lifting a car. It's a green car. He looks a little pissed off. I would say that's like Action Comics number 1. Absolutely. Yeah.
We have Roberta there with him. And did you ever listen to the radio serials that it was based off of?
I have not.
I haven't either because I've been trying to listen to the radio in order, and there's so much radio stuff. And trying to find the right order to read what, sometimes it's a big pain.
Pretty much, I only get to listen to podcasts kind of when I'm driving alone in the car. Because, I'm a deaf guy. So, like, if I sit there, if I'm sitting down and trying to listen to a podcast, like, I just can't. I focus only on that podcast.
Yeah.
So I like to do it when I drive, which, is somewhat a rarity.
My thing with podcasts is like the same thing is when I used to work farther away and I drove a lot.
Yeah.
I went through a lot. Now my drive's like 15 minutes, so it takes me like 5 days to go through like one podcast. But what are your thoughts, just on an overview, Brian, of Superman Smashes the Klan?
It's one of my favorite Superman stories. Hands down. Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I love that Superman was somewhat of a side character.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a big part of it, of course. His name's in the story, but it really was Roberta's story. Or I forget her real Chinese name, but they say her name Roberta more so. But
yes,
I loved it was more about her. I loved it that it was. I loved it being a story about Superman needing to fit in. You know, that's something that sometimes we don't think about a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, we think about how he has to constantly control his powers and everything he does, and that must be a big stress, but we don't totally think about how much he does to try to fit in. Like, you know, we think of Clark and that's about it, but like, yeah, he's just holding back on some things to fit in. I loved it. I loved that she had anxiety issues. You know, she would throw up all the time. You know, when she felt anxiety, that she, you know, this family moved from Chinatown to Metropolis, and her brother's like an extrovert. It's really easy for him to fit in.
He's a great baseball player, and he makes
everything's easy for him.
He makes friends and enemies on the team because we have this character. I'm looking for his name, whose uncle or father.
The kid's named Chuck. The uncle's name is Matt. If I remember right. I forget what the kid's name is. Chuck, maybe?
Chuck, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, he is a member of the Klan, and basically Chuck sees the hate through his father and what his father and them try to go after the Lee family. And, you know, Chuck has an arc of changing everything of who he is. And
well, for the kid, like, the uncle takes him and his mom in, single mom, and takes care of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like make sure everything's taken care of, and he doesn't have to struggle. Like, so he thinks that, you know, this guy, he's a good guy. You know, he takes care of me and my mom.
I mean,
you know,
it's one of those things. And I've said this to Jania before. A lot of times when you deal with racism or hate in anything, is it's one thing to be fed stories about people or anything, but you don't know anybody. You have no personal connection to it. You know, it's easier to be one of those people that's like, oh, I hate these type of people or whatever, but because you don't know them. But as soon as you get to know somebody, and now you have a one-on-one personal connection, and you see them for who they are as people, it changes you. You know, it takes you out. And I feel like that's where the story is. Like with Chuck, the kid here is, you know, he was taught, oh, we got to hate these people. They're less than whatever. But then he got a first-hand experience of getting to know these people for real and getting to see the hate and everything that his father or stepfather, uncle
former roommate,
you know, was actually doing to these people.
Yeah.
So it opened his eyes to the hatred that was being spewed. One
thing I liked that Roberta pointed out, she was like, I think it was Roberta, or maybe it was Tommy or so. But one of the kids points out that Chuck did not want to hurt anybody, because when he threw the Molotov cocktail at their house, like, they're like, Chuck's an amazing pitcher. He's awesome. Like, if he wouldn't have missed,
right?
But he intentionally missed because he didn't want to hurt anybody. Like this kid's so conflicted, and then one kid's like, Chuck's a piece of crap, but Tommy's all like, Tommy's all like, he helped save me. He helped save me out of the water. You know, like, yeah, I broke my arm, but he saved my life. You know.
It's, you know, Chuck has a great arc in this, and like you said, I love that Superman's a side character, and he's learning who he is. He's going, like we talked about, he's going from more the Golden Age Superman to the Silver Age, and the costume is very Fleischer with the black behind the S and everything in the gold.
That's my favorite.
And the thing about, like you said, with Roberta is I love that. I'm trying to find it in here where Superman gives her,
I think it's in the second one,
part of his cape. And
so her original jacket, she got puke on it, like, and she threw up on the way there, and her mom like threw away the jacket, she threw away the jacket because, you know, the puke, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, her mom stitched that jacket, made it for her, and it was like, it reminded her of home, it reminded her of Chinatown stuff. It made her feel safe. So Superman takes his cape, and he gives it to her, and then her mom takes the cape in the middle of the night and makes a jacket like a Connor Kent jacket.
Yeah, it's
That was dope.
It is dope, and I think we find out that Chuck is a fan of Superman, and it's part of through Superman that Chuck's eyes and everything is opened to everything. But what you're talking about with Roberta, her real name is, we said it, but it's Lan Shin Lee.
Lan Shin.
So her initials are LL.
LL. And Lois Lane gives her a pen.
Yeah, with her initials.
And she's like, "No, Lois Lane, this is yours. This is your pen."
And she's like,
"No."
And you, Lan Shin Lee. And, Roberta wants to be a reporter as well and everything. So I feel like Superman Smashes the Klan is one of those stories that's just primed for an animated film adaptation.
Yeah, I felt it the whole way. Yeah.
With the, it's written down enough for kids to get the concept and everything. It's written well enough that you and I as adults can understand it. And it's a great teaching tool to teach kids about prejudice and hate. So I think that this one, more than anything, is one, there's all these comics we talk about, I want to see a film adaptation of this, and I think short stories like this that are self-contained and a non-continuity make great animated films. And that, I think this is one that needs to be done.
It was just an amazing story of just, just hate, racism, love, acceptance, inclusion, accepting yourself for who you are, accepting other people. It's just, I loved it, man. It was so good.
It's a nice parallel between Clark discovering he's an alien, because that's the thing. He doesn't know he's an alien. And then you're dealing with another prejudiced over here with the Lee family. So I highly recommend Superman Smashes the Klan to anybody. I mean, we could go book by book and break it down. But I really think it's something that...
It's something that need to be written
experience,
and enjoyed.
for yourself. Like, I've been wanting to talk about it for a while because I think it's so powerful and strong. But at the same time, I want to just talk about it in a non-spoiler kind of review and just tell people to go check it out for themselves. It's an easy read. It's, it's 3 small, they're not comic, they're more like books, and I just think it's great. So.
It really is one of my favorite Superman stories. It really is.
Of all time, yeah. I'm going through I would say so. I think it's one that was overlooked, maybe because of its formatting.
Yeah. Oh, this is anime?
Exactly.
Or manga? Oh, sorry.
And I think some people missed out on it. And I think it's definitely something that should be re-looked at, reevaluate, because I think it is a straight, true to the core, who you are Superman story. And I think, an animated adaptation would be amazing. Amazing. Side story, Bryan and I went to this video game store, and we were talking to this guy, and I mean, all he would say is, after anything we would say, he's like, amazing. It's amazing.
Amazing.
And we were
I'm here to fix my PS3.
Amazing, man.
Amazing.
So it was an adventure.
Yeah, my wife found it at a thrift store, and we need to fix the lens so that I can play PS1, 2, and 3 games. Amazing. Hey, what's that tagline that Spider-Man started out with? It wasn't spectacular.
Oh,
it was
amazing.
Amazing.
It still blows my mind that Amazing Spider-Man was where it started because of Stan Lee's love for alliterations. I took attendance today in class, and I swear half the kids in the class had alliteration names. I was like, okay, this is getting a little interesting. But all right, Bryan,
really?
any last thoughts on anything here today?
I know that book was amazing.
Check it out. It is on, get it from your local comic book store. Check it out. See if it's on Hoopla. If you're a library person, go to the library. If not, it is on the DC app, and I don't think it's under the Ultra tab. I can check real quick just to kind of.
Yeah, I read in DC Ultimate.
So
or DC Universe or whatever. I read it. It's in their Ultra.
Okay, it is on the app. You don't have to have Ultra to read it.
Oh.
So because I'm not rich enough to buy Ultra yet, but Brian's awesome, so he has it. But Bryan, thank you for being here.
Well, sell a little cocaine here and there. You can do things.
We don't condone the use of drugs on this podcast.
Just the selling of it.
Just the jokes about it. But thank you for being here.
I'm not joking.
We enjoy having you. And we look forward to hearing more of Brian's thoughts as things go on. And what's ironic is I swear, watch what will happen. What will happen is tomorrow, James Gunn will come out with a huge announcement about everything after we record this. Or as soon as I put this up, he'll come out the next day.
Probably.
And announce everything.
Probably.
So.
I want a Teen Titans movie. Classic Teen Titans. I want Kid Flash.
I will agree with that.
Robin. I want to see Robin. I want to see young Dick Grayson Robin.
Brian, what we'll do is
Speedy.
Our next thought is we will pitch our own DC universe of films. So until next time, people.
Can they freaking handle this? I don't think they can handle this.
I don't think
they're ready for this jelly.
They're not. So remember.
My body's too boo.
Look up in the sky.
We just want to say if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network.